Women at the Wheel podcast. I'm Maddie Weiner, editor of Aftermarket News, and today I'm joined by Ashlee Arnold, Vice President of Arnold Oil Co of Austin. Ashlee, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Same here. And you know, Ashlee, I saw you were part of our 2021 Women at the Wheel class. Congratulations again.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Awesome. Yeah. And you were, from what I understand, you were really born into the automotive industry. Is that right?
I was. It's kind of a running joke around here and throughout the industry with a lot of my friends. I was born, and 2 days later, my mom put me in a basket. And the story varies now. Some people say stuck me under the desk, and other people say put me in a filing cabinet. I'm pretty sure my mom wouldn't have done that. But yeah, I was stuck under the desk, and when I cried, she took care of me, and kind of been here ever since, off and on. So I literally, from the day I could crawl and walk, I was at this office or at the office.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you have a pretty long line of, family being involved in the industry. I saw that your great grandparents founded the original Arnold Oil Company in 1939, and then your dad launched the company's current operation in 1977. So going back to those early days, as a kid growing up, do you have any memories of being in the business and, watching your family run it, and, any stories you can share, anything like that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I would just say, growing up as a kid, it was fun.
Yeah.
We had a great time. Back then, there was no rules. I'm pretty sure there was child labor laws that my parents broke at some point in time, but as their kids, it didn't really matter. But no, I loved it. I loved growing up in the warehouse as a kid. A lot of the people that I work with today have known me since I was 5 or 6 or 7 years old. My brother and I are only about a year apart, just over a year. We would pull hot shot deliveries for the front counter. And so we would, run with pencils, and it was back when they still had like carbon paper that you had to like circle the part number and check it off. And we would race to see who could get there the fastest. We would have water balloon fights in the parking lot at night. As kids, a lot of the people that, again, have been with us, luckily, for so many years, their kids, they would put to work there in the summers. And we'd play tag, jumping from oil pallet to oil pallet. Again, probably not safe, and I'm sure that we busted some courts at some point in time. But I mean, it was a blast. It was kind of like the perfect playground for kids. Every once in a while it would be like, oh, my friend gets to go to Schlitterbahn and I have to go to work, but I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything in the world. It was great.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And so did you always know you wanted to go into the family business? It sounds like you have some great memories growing up. Was that always sort of like, your path that you wanted to take?
I did. And I didn't know exactly kind of what that would look like or where it would fit. But when I was in high school, I was very adamant that I wanted to have a job outside of the family business. And it wasn't necessarily because I didn't want to be a part of it. It was more for me to say, you're not just working for dad. You're not just working for mom. Like, you can do this on your own. So in high school, I worked for a restaurant for a while. And then when I was in college, or right after college, I went to work for a bank for a little while as well before coming back full time into the automotive aftermarket. But it was never a question of whether I wanted to be like ingrained in everything that I knew and grew up with. It was more of a gain a different perspective and prove to myself that, I'm not just riding on the coattails, that like I can do this too. So it was a great experience. All of it was, but like I said, I wouldn't trade growing up in this business with the people for anything in the world.
Yeah, very true. And I know a lot of people that have done that have, kind of left the family business, but have come back. And a lot of them say they have such a greater appreciation for it when
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's very interesting. Very cool. So you mentioned sort of working in the family business when you were younger. I'm sure maybe some summers. Tell us how you sort of worked your way up to where you are now, though.
Well, of course. Yeah, no, it wasn't some summers. It was every summer. My brother and I, especially as we got older, we were required to run wind sprints in the morning because we were both in athletics, different, capacities, obviously. And then we would come to work. But it was every summer, every holiday, everything. If we weren't at school, we were at work. So it really taught us. I mean, my parents are have really taught us like how deeply their work ethic is incredible. And, you know, they still feel like they need to be the first ones here, the last ones to leave. There's nobody around here who questions if my dad's working or not ever, unless he tells them he's going to the ranch or something like that. And, you know, growing up like that was fantastic. So, like I said, we worked every summer, every holiday, but once we started getting older to where we could do more than just read a number on a part and pull it or work inventory, my dad had us rotate through every single department. So one summer we'd work in AR, then we'd work in AP, then we'd work with IT, which, I mean, don't even get me started there today because I would be completely lost. But he rotated us through everything, so we really understood the breadth and depth and the scope of it. And also, you know, a big part of that too was to realize that you're not bigger than the guy that works next to you. You know, nobody works for you, everybody works with you.
Right.
If you're too big to get down on the floor and like scrub some coffee stains that somebody spilled, like, you're not. Get down there and do it. So that was really kind of where it started. And I think that having that appreciation for the hard work and the diversity of everything that goes into making the organization run was really what kind of helped us, both my brother and myself, on the trajectory to where we are today.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you got firsthand experience in each department, probably knew, you know, what the, you know, issues were that they faced, the challenges, and then, you know, probably saw where some improvement could be made, or, you know, where you guys were doing like really well in certain areas. Does that sort of inform where, you know, I guess some decisions that you make today as vice president?
I would say so, but I would also say that, you know, the evolution of the business over the years has changed so much that a lot of those processes have changed. You know, like I said, we did everything from cleaning bathrooms to making cash deposits from stores to, you know, submitting sales tax to, I mean, you name it, we did it. But again, all of that kind of evolved. So I think that but I do think that it gives such a greater perspective and understanding that you're more empathetic towards the struggles that people have in different departments, knowing kind of where it's coming from. And so to your point, with that, I would say that it definitely changes your perspective when you're making decisions and when you're trying to make choices, whether that be accounting, HR, you know, inventory management, JMO, which we use, which is a warehouse inventorying system, you know, et cetera. So I think it's definitely a blessing in disguise in a lot of ways that both my brother and I had that experience growing up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And now tell me, what are your responsibilities as vice president of Arnold Oil today?
So that's kind of a mixed bag. Being a WD is sort of like what's going on today. So that could be something as simple as, you know, working with accounting to make sure financials are produced timely and accurately. That could be working with IT because we need to update, you know, X, Y, and Z, or our reporting for these certain vendors is broken, or, you know, HR needs help on the payroll front or hiring front or anything like that. It really is kind of all hands on deck at this level. So whatever that looks like, you know, again, being raised that way, my dad's the first one. It's funny. Everybody makes fun of him when it's inventory time. We call them the leakers. It's the oil cords that, you know, the case may have busted or whatever. And he, without fail, that's like his job during inventory, is he consolidates all of those things. So like I said, it's end to end. Whatever it takes to get the job done is what we do.
Now, working side by side with your family, you mentioned you have a brother as well that's in the business. You know, I thought it was interesting. I read that your parents have worked together pretty much their entire married life, which is amazing. You know, obviously you and your brother, you know, grew up in the business, like you said. So what do you feel are some keys to working with family?
I think every family is different, right? I mean, every family member is different. And I feel very lucky. My dad is very headstrong. He is very much sales oriented. So sometimes he gets on me. I'm a finance major, so I have a tendency to be a bit more conservative than he is. He doesn't want yes men, and I'm never a yes man, which frustrates the crud out of him sometimes. But you know, it is what it is. You ask my opinion, I'm going to give it to you. So you don't have to agree. That's fine. My mom has worked her entire life as well. They, and like you said, their entire married life. They're such opposites that it just works. And I'll say the same for my brother and myself. Everybody asks, like, how do y'all work together on a daily basis and get along? But again, I'm more admin, accounting, finance, like structural, um, dealing with legal issues, that kind of stuff. My brother is very much just let me go sell something. I want to be in the field. So we really complement each other very well. He'll come to me and he'll say, Ash, just hear me out. And I'm like, here we go. But, it's like I said, we're such complete opposites that we really don't step on each other's toes. We're really better as one than what we are apart. And I think that for us as a family, that works really well. I know a lot of families who have very similar personality types that it becomes a challenge. But for us, it's really been kind of a blessing in disguise, especially with Jayson and I. We joke all the time that we fight better than any two people that exist. And it's not because we fight, but if we have a problem, one person walks in the other person's office, we talk it through and we're done. That's it. We walk out on the same page and that's it. Right. Not everybody has that kind of a blessing, I will say, or that kind of a relationship with their sibling.
Well, Ashlee, I want to talk about female leadership with you. Obviously, you are a female leader in our industry. You served as chair of the AWDA. So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's such an honor, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I'm curious, as a woman in the aftermarket, you've said previously that, getting involved changed your perspective. Can you sort of explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when I say change your perspective, I think that it just further solidifies your feelings about the industry and everybody involved in it. So again, as you mentioned, I grew up in this business and I'm lucky to be surrounded by so many people that I love, admire, trust. Again, some of them practically raised me alongside my parents just because I was here all the time. Right. So I feel very lucky in that regard. But I think getting involved in the industry, everybody always says, once you're in, you're never going to get out. You get to meet the most incredible people and they're so real and they're so authentic and they're so loving and caring. I know I mentioned this to you before we got started, but I'm getting married in 2 weeks and a huge portion of my wedding list is industry friends. And, they're flying in from all over these places, which means the absolute world to me. Mm-hmm. But I told my fiance when we first started dating, I was like, these guys are some of my best friends in the entire world. If this is going to be an issue, then we're going to have a problem. Right. So, but they're just, like I said, everybody's just so wonderful and they want to lift you up. They want to support you. They want to be there for you through thick and thin. And I think getting more involved in it just creates that network of people across the country where if I've got a problem, I can pick up the phone and call any one of them today and they would be willing to help me, even if it's a simple answer about a cross-reference or if it's, oh my gosh, I need to vent to somebody because I can't vent to the people that I'm surrounded by, being in a leadership role and position. I think that's more of what I meant by when you get more involved, you're just so ingrained in it and you see how wonderful, like, it's not all roses all the time. No industry is, no job is, no anything is, but it's just so fantastic and the people are so fantastic. And like I said, they always just want to lift you up. They want to help make you better, whatever they can do in their part to be able to do that. It's just really, it's such a gift, honestly. It really is. Most people, when I tell them what I do for a living, automotive aftermarket parts and oil and fuel distribution, and they're sort of like, are you sure? I'm like, but you don't know the people that I work with. Like, you don't know the people that I get to talk to every day. You don't know, I don't enjoy going to Vegas, but I get excited to go to Vegas because I feel like I get to see all of my best friends. And right. That in of itself is just, it's incredible. Like, I don't feel like there's an industry that's as rich with such incredible people as what we have.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. And, speaking of, the incredible people in the industry, obviously you said, your parents served as really great role models of a good work ethic and I'm sure served as, your mentors throughout, your life. But is there, I'm curious if there's anyone in the aftermarket that you feel has really served as a mentor, maybe outside of your family, and if so, maybe what have you learned from them, or what have you learned from, being involved in one of the many organizations that you're involved with?
It's hard. I feel like it's like I hate to start naming names because there's so many that have really been there for me through the years.
For sure.
Mr. Pavey, Larry Pavey's obviously been a huge one. When I was a kid, when I first met him, my dad made the comment to me, if he's taught, like, you don't talk, you just sit there and listen because you're going to learn something. Mr. Washbush, Mr. Kid, like I literally could go down a litany of people over the years who've been those role models for me and who have said, whatever you ever need, just you pick up the phone and call. And I mean, down to when I worked for a bank right after college, I lived in California, and growing up here, I always had somebody to fix my car, somebody to look at it, and I had the parts, in the back warehouse to be able to take care of it. And one time my battery died, and Mr. de Blasi out in California was like, you send her to my warehouse, you get her a battery, you put it in her car. And I went to pay for it, and he was like, absolutely not. The gentleman said, if I charge you for this, he may fire me. So back to the people, like I said, it's hard to name names because there's just so many wonderful people throughout this industry that have helped me in so many different ways, helped me grow, helped me learn, helped teach me not only just about the business itself, but like the overall goal of the industry, like what we're trying to accomplish, where we want to get, and how best to work towards getting that done. When to talk, when not to talk, when to say like what you're thinking, and when to just sit there and listen and formulate your opinion before that. Growing up as a young kid, you don't always have that, but I was lucky enough to have learned that from my dad would probably tell you that I don't know that, but from a really young age, of all of those things. So, to your point, there's been so many incredible people. I hate to start naming too many names because I will miss a million of them who helped guide me through the years.
Yeah, I mean, understandable. You have such a legacy in the industry. So, I get that. I get that. But very cool to have so many people really around you, embrace you. And it's true, like this industry is very warm and welcoming. And people are so willing to help. So, it's incredible to have that network.
Absolutely.
So Ashlee, obviously you are a female leader in your company. You know a lot of the female leaders in the automotive aftermarket. From your perspective, what do you feel female leadership brings to a company? Why do you feel it's an asset to a company?
Well, I feel like it's an asset because innately we generally have differing points of view. I don't know why that is, just genetics or whatever, but you look at somebody like a Kim Nolan. I mean, she is an incredible leader within BBB. She demands attention when she's in a room. And I feel like somebody like that, or somebody within an organization, as I mentioned to you offline, we did a disc test here within our own organization, and almost everybody was basically what you would categorize as type A. But to run a successful organization, you still have to have everybody else to balance that out. I need an accounting team that cares about the details. They don't just care about the sale. I need an IT team that cares about how to make the systems work, how to keep everything up and going, to look forward to what's coming on the forefront, not just what's happening today. So I think it goes back to just having diversity within the workplace, not only of whether it be female or male, but just where your strengths lie and how you can balance that out within an organization, because it takes all of those to make it successful, not just one type of person. So again, traditionally, most people in our industry, their success comes from them being driven type A, but their success doesn't exist without everybody behind the scenes that makes sure that it stays together, it keeps going, and you're at the forefront of whatever changes or adaptations need to be made within your company to make sure that it's not just successful today, it is tomorrow and for years to come as well.
Yeah, for sure. Ashlee, my last question for you here, as a female leader, what advice would you give to women in the aftermarket today who, either looking to work their way up in a company or just trying to, get their footing as a leader where they are today?
I will say, like, and I said this when I was honored with the Woman at the Wheel award. Use your voice. You know, when I was younger, and the first time I went to an aftermarket meeting, I walked in the room, and I was one woman in a room full of men, and
Right.
so everybody remembered who I was, and I'm trying to remember what everybody's name is. You know, I mean, I think Fletcher was probably one of the first people that I met who also is an incredible mentor. Again, not to name names, but um, use your voice. It's kind of intimidating. I think sometimes that women feel like because you're a woman that people don't want to hear what you have to say. And in this industry, it's really the opposite. They want to hear what you have to say. They want to listen to what you're thinking. They want to listen to your input. It's just having the courage to be able to put it out there when it is, you know, stereotypically a male dominated industry.
Yeah.
I can't tell you one time that I've spoken up where somebody hasn't. I mean, maybe my ideas are dumb at times. Everybody has great ideas, and everybody has ideas sometimes that don't stick. That's okay, but be willing to put yourself out there and be willing to speak up. Be willing to say what's on your mind, no matter who else is in the room, because they have a lot. Everybody has a lot of respect for you, men and women have a lot of respect for you for being bold enough to be able to say what you're thinking, to be able to stand up for what you believe in or what you don't believe in. Either way, I think that that's probably the most important advice that I would give people is don't be scared to say what you're thinking, to voice your opinions, to use your expertise in areas where other people may not have that. So that would be, I think, my main advice is just don't be scared. People are
Yeah.
here, they're willing to embrace you, and I feel like the more that you're willing to speak out, the more that people do earn that respect for you, earn that trust in you, and that's how I think you create the best relationships that you can.
Well, Ashlee, thank you so much for coming on the Women at the Wheel podcast. I have so enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for sharing your insight. And yeah, look forward to seeing you at some industry events here soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. Again, it was an honor to win this, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to me for a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashlee. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.